Hello and welcome to another episode of Father and Joe. I'm Joe Rockey here with Father Boniface Hicks. And the day that this episode releases, for all of the loyal listeners who download it immediately, we love it. It's roughly half of you listen to this the day it comes out. We thank you guys so much for subscribing and get the fresh moment here. And you guys get this on August 4th, which is also the feast of Saint John Vianney. And Father, since this is a topic that you wanted to discuss, I want to give you the floor immediately and let you talk about who Saint John Vianney is and why he's a saint in the first place.
Yeah. Saint John Vianney is the patron of parish priests, and so that has special meaning for me now that I am a parish priest. I'm still a Benedictine, but I'm assigned to a parish now in the Diocese of Pittsburgh, and so as I start out on this new adventure, this is my first recording from my new parish rectory location. It's something that is on my mind, and also in part the priests of the Diocese of Pittsburgh have a little barbecue gathering on the feast of Saint John Vianney. So it's on my calendar. I'm looking forward to it, and I've never participated in it before because I wasn't in a parish before. So just a few of those things as personal notes to give some context. And then I'd love to say a little bit about Saint John Vianney, and then a little bit about parish priesthood and what that is and why it matters. And let me just start with a few notes about Saint John Vianney. He lived in the end of the 18th and then more so in the 19th century. He was in an extremely troubled time in France. 1792 to 1794 is what's known as the Reign of Terror. And under the Maximilien Robespierre as the president, I guess, of France during those years, the blood was ankle deep running from the Bastille because of the number of beheadings that were happening on a daily basis. It was a time of incredible religious persecution and just incredible violence in the name of democracy and equity, liberty, and freedom, equity, liberty, and fraternity, the sort of flagship values of the French Revolution. In the midst of that very troubled time arose an incredible saint, a man very simple on the one hand, and had a hard time making it through seminary because he wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, wasn't an academic for sure, but a man of remarkable sanctity. And he was assigned to a little parish church in Ars, which had 100 families or something like that. And by the time that he was done, after being pastor there for decades, they literally built a train line to Ars because so many people came to see the parish saint of Ars, the curé of Ars. St. John Vianney heard countless hours of confessions, gave catechesis in his daily homilies, was just completely given over to his parish and fostered a love for them in his own prayer and penance as well. Just a remarkable gift as a parish priest. But he was also had a sense of joy. I learned recently that he lived during the time that the dogma of the Immaculate Conception was declared. And when he heard that that dogma had been declared, that Mary was conceived without sin, and the church embraced that as irrefutable doctrine, he set off fireworks and ran around with sparklers and in joy over this proclamation of the church. So a childlike quality as well, and just very inspiring. Suffered, struggled there, wanted to leave, tried to leave a couple of times, and his parishioners tracked him down and basically dragged him back. And so just a tremendous figure who dedicated himself to the people that he was assigned to. He didn't complain that he didn't have the biggest parish in the diocese. He wasn't constantly on the go trying to find other things to do. He just gave everything he had to the people who were entrusted to his care. And it was something like 100% attendance from the people in his parish, which was, again, just a couple hundred families in the end. Although there were lines of people that came from all over, he was well known for his gifts in the confessional, being able to absolve sins and make people feel the mercy of God, and also at times some miraculous interventions, sort of reading their souls, knowing more than he would have had access to by natural means, and being able to open people's hearts even more to the grace of God. So he is a beautiful saint and worth getting to know. He has been declared the patron of parish priests, and is one of the rare parish priests. So a lot of times we celebrate as saints missionaries and religious founders and bishops and a lot of priests doing a lot of different things, but the vast majority of priests are assigned to parishes. And it's remarkable how few canonized parish priests we have, although there are some more. But Saint John Vianney was really canonized because of how well he lived out being a parish priest. So not other sort of amazing things surrounding that, but really his dedication to the parish. And so the church in various places during the year of the priest, the Feast of Saint John Vianney is a special moment. Every year in ours, there are retreats for priests, and he's a real focal point for any priest in a parish knows Saint John Vianney and invokes him regularly. And I have been in the process of forming parish priests for a number of years in my work at St. Vincent Seminary the past 10 years, and then also in spiritual direction. A lot of seminarians and a lot of parish priests have met with me for spiritual direction. Every time I meet with a seminarian, a diocesan seminarian, or a parish priest, I always invoke St. John Vianney. So I have invoked his intercession countless times. I had the chance to visit his relics, toured our country during the Year of Mercy, and I had the chance to visit his relics and press a couple of items, including my confessional stole, to those the relics. The heart, actually, of John Vianney is the relic that was on tour. And so, anyway, I have a lot of personal devotion to him, and now that I'm assigned to a parish, the funny thing is, I had my conversion in campus ministry at Penn State. I've told that story many, many times. And as part of my conversion, I had a desire to share the gift of prayer as I first encountered the Lord and was able to sort of hear him, begin to communicate with him in a more personal way. And then I began to think about evangelization, and I was drawn to religious orders. I visited the Benedictines because the campus ministry at Penn State is run by the Benedictines. And so I visited St. Vincent the week after I was baptized and had a very beautiful experience there. And then I developed a love for St. Francis, and I visited the Franciscans of the Renewal and developed a real love for their community. But the diocesan vocation director in Altoona, Johnstown, the Diocese of Altoona, Johnstown, which is where Penn State is located, reached out to me and was also pressing me to consider becoming a diocesan priest. And I really appreciated him. I still know him now, many years later, and have a nice relationship with him. But I actually had no idea what he was talking about, because I literally never was in a parish. I was baptized in campus ministry, and then I spent a year in campus ministry after I was baptized, and then I joined the monastery. I really had no exposure to a parish. I didn't really understand how the church functions. I had such a missionary outlook. And then campus ministry is primarily missionary. There's a lot of sort of, I'm trying to avoid certain words, but routine service, I want to say it that way, that in a parish, that you need religious education because you have children to form. You need baptisms and marriages because babies are born and people get married. You need funerals because people die. You don't really have any of that in campus ministry. So these sort of routine activities of parishes just don't exist in campus ministry. And it's funny, the relationship between them and a missionary church. And so when you first go to a mission country, those services, now you need some of those things as things built up. You have converts and they get baptized and they get married, but you bring them in through OCIA. You have kind of different pathways for all that. And then the challenge in our church today is that we spend so much time doing the routine activities, what has been dubbed maintenance, that we don't take the time we need for mission. And we still have a lot of maintenance to do, but there's actually a lot more mission to do. And getting the right balance of that is challenging. And in many ways, that's the challenge of the parish priest. So as a Benedictine in seminary formation, I could run around and give talks and do parish missions and workshops and online courses. And I could do a lot of ministry for those who are kind of interested. I could lead evangelization initiatives. I could do a lot of things because I was never strapped with any of the maintenance of parish ministry. And so I just didn't really appreciate at all the what is the life of the church, really. It's the kind of beating heart of the church. When I was discerning my vocation, and I ended up at St. Vincent, and that took its own path. And in the meantime, I've really developed a love for the parish as I've formed diocesan seminarians, as I've given spiritual direction to parish priests, as I've thought a lot about how to transform parish life and how to support that transformation. And I've provided formation through the seminary and the Institute for Ministry Formation for the lay faithful. I've done pastoral planning for parishes. I've done a lot of this work, really appreciating that the parish is where the rubber hits the road. The life of the church is in the parish. As goes the parish, so goes the church. I mean, that's where everything happens, really. And so now I have the joy of being in a parish and getting to experience from the inside a lot of that ministry, and it's really the native environment of a priest. A priest is like his home, his native territory is the parish. And yet, in the weird way, because I was ordained as a Benedictine and we have a little different mission, the things that a parish priest does in a month, I haven't done in 22 years. I mean, I can count on two hands the number of baptisms I've had. On one hand, the number of marriages I've celebrated. On one hand, the number of funerals I've celebrated. In a very limited way, the number of anointings that I've done. A lot of the things that are the mainstay of the parish priest and are kind of like bread and butter for priesthood are almost foreign to my experience. But these are exactly the things that John Vianney did really well. And the things that are routine can become routine. And that's really the problem. It's not that we do a lot of them. It's that familiarity breeds contempt, that we start to do them poorly because we've done them repeatedly. And bringing the intentionality, the attention, the willingness to sacrifice and extend ourselves. If there's I now will have confessions every Saturday morning, and there can be a real temptation to hope that there aren't too many so I can get out of there faster. John Vianney had the attitude of like, I'm willing to sit here as long as people come. May everybody come who needs God's mercy and absolution. And he sometimes was in the confessional for 11 hours or 17 hours, I think, on one occasion. So the willingness to extend ourselves to do the work of the priest in the parish is where John Vianney provides real inspiration. And so he's now not only the patron that I invoke for the people I meet with, but he's the patron I invoke for myself. And now I have the challenge of not just helping others to live out this parish ministry, but also the challenge of living it out myself.
Well, that's beautiful. And Father, it's amazing how often we have conversations that we didn't plan on the direction they're going to go, but how applicable they are And in this case, even the timing of this, as we mentioned, this is going to be released upon the 4th, but it's not filmed upon the 4th. And on that day, I'm basically going to be having a meeting that's going to intersect kind of what you've just described, the mission part versus the routine part. And I'm sure that Father Vianney went through this just as you will too, and anyone else who's involved in a parish is, there's the needs that are the earthly needs of a parish that still need to exist. We need to make sure the lights stay on, the maintenance is done, and the finance side of the world, if you will. And I full-fledged admit character weakness. I don't play well with others. That's why I've built my own business since 2011. I know this about me, but I also very much know what works and what doesn't work. And there's in every parish, and not to get off this, but in the world of financing, there's effectively two ways you can look at money. You can either get more money out of every family you have or have more families. And it's a philosophical debate really at the end of the day. And as to go to the correlation you're saying here is the one is the mission driven approach. Go get more families to come. And that is opposite of the routine. The routine is let's just get more out of the people we have and we'll go from there. And pillar opposites. And as you can tell, I'm probably one of the few in the room who share that different vision. I'm also one who has built many businesses and has an abundant mentality that says things will work. You just need to figure out how to hunt for it, opposed to other ways of looking at it. And I tell you this, Father, as both not actually being in your profession before, but as being someone who has had great freedom and then forced into a system, there will be a transition. If you have not already seen and witnessed that if you can bring the missionary element into the parish and into the diocese overall, as now you are in my diocese, the Diocese of Pittsburgh, that would be greatly, greatly appreciated. And if you have any advice upon how to do that, is I will be having this meeting on the night of Tuesday the 4th of how to come in there. My wife's already told me, don't you go in there like yourself and you're going to make everyone mad and you're not going to get anything done. So that's the starting point I'm working with here, Father.
Not to go into it too deeply, but is this like a parish council meeting or a town hall meeting, or what's the?
It's a council and finance meeting. So
okay.
that philosophical discussion of more families or getting more out of each family is the underlying conversation with everything, although never explicitly made. And that in itself upsets me, but I know I'm not winning that battle.
Well, actually, I would encourage you and any of our listeners who are in this position, but to have confidence in terms of, so that's one aspect. If the goal is money, so that's already its own problem. But sometimes that's where there's some energy. It's like we've got to get money, okay, and then there are two approaches, and I think that naming those two approaches is actually really helpful. I don't hear people saying that. So the idea.
How do people not say that? That's basic math. Like it's not a complicated equation.
Well, I don't know that people just think in terms of basic math as part of the issue, but just to say, like, let's be explicit about this. First of all, we're creating a goal, which is a money goal, so that's flag that as a problem. But there is a point to that, as you said. And then there are two ways to get there: more money from the people who come, or now, obviously, there can be a combination of the two. There is an argument in terms of the way that we approach the people who are coming. Part of the problem is a certain consumer mentality and a certain kind of, to be cliche, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. There is a shift in mentality that's needed towards greater sacrifice and generosity, which goes back to more fundamental questions like, why are you coming at all? What is the purpose of this? And if you're coming for God and then you want to make sacrifices for him, how are you doing that? And, there's the kind of classic 3 T's: time, talent, and treasure. Like, how are you giving yourself? That's actually a really important question. And then, are we living out the parish life in a way that inspires people to give themselves? Like, do you have a sense that you're giving yourself to something that matters? Now, this parish is not the only metric of that. God is obviously the ultimate reason that we give, even if it's through an incompetent parish or whatever. But anyway, there's some framework around that that's worth opening up. What is driving us and where our mentality is, and yeah, so that's good. I'm going to pray for you. I'm sure by the time we talk the next time, we'll have be able to reflect on that off camera, if not on camera. But yeah, that's great.
Well, I appreciate your comments there, and I didn't mean to derail the episode here, but also recognizing that it's part of the routine of the church. You know, we are in a space right now. There's a couple things you said there that struck me out. But looking at the reality of the American church right now is that it's declining. One of the ultimate reasons the axe gets swung, if you will, is financing. We can't keep the building open anymore. Like it has to be closed. Like that's one, and that's the one people always get mad at. But the reality is if more people came, it wouldn't be a problem. It never would have gotten there. So
That's
while
right.
that's the final, it's a trailing indicator. It's not the cause. And trying to get people out of that mentality of just trying to survive another day and not get shut down is the challenge that we're overcoming. And one thing that you said in there, which felt very foreign to my current era listening to this church, is that as a priest, outside parishioners came to actively follow and watch him. That seems to happen with other religious figures within our country, but not normally recognized as a very Catholic thing per se. In fact, quite frankly, Father, you might be one of the exceptions that have that, where people actually come and follow you, whether it be physically or through the internet. So I might be talking to the wrong person about this, but in general, you don't see people saying, I'm going to follow this priest regardless of where they are at. Normally, it's just, that's the one I go to. It's closest to my house. It starts at the time I want to do it. And whoever is doing the mass, great. I might have a personal preference on the way they conduct the mass, but it's not going to make me follow them or detract me from going to the one around the corner at 9:30. So that was just one of the things I wanted to comment upon. As this episode is going a little bit longer, but I think that it belongs within this episode.
Yeah, and I think anyway, these are really valuable conversation topics, and you could make a note or two, and we could continue with some of these points. I think it's really useful to explore what we're doing. Sometimes parish closures, people say, "Oh, we just don't have enough priests," and it's like, well, actually, we don't have enough people is the problem, and that's not because there aren't enough people living in our areas, but because we're not actually bringing them the gospel. And so then not enough people, not enough finances, not enough. Well, in part, we do have fewer priests, but we actually have way more priests per capita than they do in the Philippines and a number of other places. But anyway, we can wrap up the episode and pick up on some different points as we have the chance.
Fair enough. Well, that will be the answer there. And I guess as your homework, take this message to heart that the parish priest is the driver of it, but for a parish priest to be successful, there has to be a parish. So what can we all do as individuals to help keep our parish vibrant, to grow and enhance it? And obviously supporting the priest is a big part of that as well. So make that your homework, kind of ponder that question and how to do that moving forward into the next week. So we thank you all for being with us this week, and we'll be with you again next week.